By day, Robert Brooks was just another man in a high-vis vest, calmly guiding nervous teenagers through three-point turns and emergency stops. A soft-spoken 51-year-old with an easy smile and a tidy Ford Focus, he looked every bit the picture of suburban stability. His neighbors in Hertfordshire barely noticed him. That was by design. Because the truth was, Robert Brooks wasn't teaching kids to drive. He was teaching himself how to vanish. What nobody knew, what nobody even suspected, was that this ordinary man had quietly built one of the UK's most sophisticated drug networks. While the world saw a struggling driving instructor and the owner of a flailing camper van rental business, Brooks was quietly moving 1.8 tons of cocaine and ketamine across Britain. Street value, £58 million. It didn't happen overnight. It never does. Brooks had always kept to himself. Even his closest acquaintances described him as private, kind, even, but vague about details. He launched a company called Happy Day Campers, a business that rented out vans and camper homes, mostly online. The books never balanced, but no one asked questions, because the real money was hidden inside the wheels. What appeared to be a humble rental fleet was actually a network of mobile stash houses. Vans crisscrossed counties carrying drug shipments hidden inside boxes labeled Jack Daniels or office supplies. It was a front that even seasoned detectives would later admit was disturbingly clever. But Brooks didn't work alone. Like any empire builder, he had lieutenants. There was Richard Campbell, the logistics man. A 49-year-old from Milton Keynes with a no-nonsense attitude and a knack for warehouse management. Campbell handled storage, loading, and timing. Every kilo that crossed into the UK had his fingerprints on it, figuratively at least. Then there was Thomas Vosenjak, the forklift operator. Quiet, unassuming. Lived like he worked at a call center. Vosenjak was the one who made it all move, off the lorry into the lockup, onto the road again. And Stephen Capp, the courier. He was the wheels, the link between stash and street. The man who could be anywhere at any time, driving a regular car with £1 million worth of powder in the boot. But the real link, the most dangerous connection, was across the sea. In Amsterdam, a Dutch supplier named Peter Manison controlled the source. The Netherlands has long been a hub for European drug exports, and Manison was Brooks's plug. He was methodical, paranoid, and well-protected. He arranged shipments. He ensured purity. And when the time came, he disappeared just as easily as he appeared. Together, these men created a criminal operation so smooth, so deeply insulated, that for nearly 2 years no one saw a thing. Brooks operated under a pseudonym, Jaguar Palace. It was theatrical, almost laughable, if not for the precision with which he moved product. The name appeared in encrypted phone logs, linked to a contact that communicated in short bursts of code. He rarely touched the drugs himself. He didn't need to. He had built a system that ran like a machine. They used encrypted phones, encros, and bespoke devices worth thousands. They spoke in riddles. Never full names. Never locations. The spiders are caught might mean a delivery was late. Jaguar has eaten meant money had landed. Police would later describe it as a multi-tiered, multi-headed serpent of supply. Yet for all its intricacy, the operation was simple at heart. Move product. Wash money. Stay invisible. Brooks played his part perfectly. He showed up to driving lessons on time. Smiled for the parents. Answered texts like a normal man. He even handed out flyers for Happy Day campers at local petrol stations. But beneath it all was a man chasing a different kind of freedom, the kind that comes with millions in untraceable cash. The operation ran quietly, efficiently, and for a long time without a single slip. The police had no clue. The public had no reason to suspect. And Brooks, calm as ever, thought he had found the formula. Until one rainy afternoon in 2019, when a dash cam on a parked Ford Fiesta captured more than just traffic. It caught Robert Brooks unloading crates from a suspicious van. It captured him with a man who'd later be caught with 5 kilos of cocaine. It recorded everything. They thought it was a courier business. To anyone watching, it looked like logistics. A few blokes moving cargo, unloading vans, exchanging boxes under gray British skies. Some Jack Daniels crates, a few camping supplies, a pallet wrapped in black cling film. Nothing to see. But behind every box was poison. Behind every delivery, a ghost. And at the top of it all was a name straight out of a gangster fable. Jaguar Palace. That was the alias Robert Brooks used on encrypted messaging systems. 2 words that meant nothing to the public but struck quiet fear into those in the know. A name whispered in code. A signal that the next load was ready. The empire he ran was coldly efficient. Police would later estimate over 1.8 tons of Class A drugs were pushed through the Brooks network. High-purity cocaine and ketamine moved with the precision of a shipping company. Street value, £58 million. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't loud. That was the genius of it. The drugs were hidden in ordinary cargo, sometimes tucked inside Jack Daniels boxes, other times inside plastic spider catcher kits, their packaging untouched, their appearance boring enough to avoid suspicion. The product came in waves, 39 shipments, each carefully timed, spaced, and tracked. The source, the Netherlands, long known as a European trafficking hotspot. Brooks's contact there, Peter Manison, handled supply and quality. From there, the drugs were packed into lorries, then slipped into the UK through legitimate channels, completely invisible to the untrained eye. Once on British soil, the chain clicked into motion. Richard Campbell took charge of the goods. He didn't just manage them, he made them disappear. Campbell controlled the safe houses, moved the shipments through industrial estates, loaded vans with a forklift like they were crates of office paper. Thomas Vosenjak, quiet and unremarkable, was the man behind the scenes, offloading shipments, blending into the grime of warehouse life. If you saw him, you'd think he worked retail. And then there was Stephen Capp, the courier with nerves of stone. He drove normal cars, took normal routes, and kept his mouth shut. Yet he was often carrying £500,000 worth of cocaine in the boot. The structure was tiered. By design. Each man knew only what he needed to know. No one spoke in full sentences. Nothing was written down. They used encrypted phones, custom-built encryption devices costing up to £15,000 apiece, programmed to self-destruct data within seconds. Some used burner phones, others relied on digital codes pre-agreed during face-to-face meets. Every part of the network was insulated, compartmentalized, and virtually invisible. It was less like a gang and more like a syndicate. Brooks didn't touch the product. He didn't even appear near the shipments. His hands stayed clean while others did the lifting. He coordinated from the shadows, using only encrypted devices and aliases. He wasn't reckless. He was patient. They called him Jaguar Palace, and for nearly 2 years he was untouchable. But nothing perfect lasts forever. The entire illusion, so meticulously built, started to fracture because of one thing: his own tech. Brooks had grown confident, maybe even cocky. He'd begun using his encrypted phone more frequently, even while driving his instructor car. Data began to build. Police tech units began sweeping. And somewhere, amid the chatter and code, someone slipped up. One image. One decoded message. One misstep in an otherwise flawless operation. The van disguised with Happy Day Campers branding? Not a rental. The crates marked holiday supplies? Not what they seemed. The smiling driving instructor with no criminal record? He wasn't just teaching parallel parking. He was importing chaos. Police didn't move immediately. They watched. They listened. They waited. Because to bring down a web this big, you don't rush. You cut from the outside in. And Brooks? He never saw it coming. He bought it for protection. Just a dash cam, cheap, basic, always recording. To catch vandals. To guard his car. But in the end, it captured something far more valuable. The death of a £58 million drug empire. August 14, 2019. The skies were overcast in rural Hertfordshire. At a quiet, unassuming property known as Little Samuel's Farm, something was happening in the dark. A Ford Fiesta sat parked near the entrance, equipped with a motion-sensitive dash cam. The owner had no idea what was about to unfold. No one did, except for the people moving in shadows. The footage was grainy but clear. 2 men, Robert Brooks and Stephen Capp, unloading crates from a van. Not tools. Not groceries. Boxes full of Class A drugs. It was the kind of footage that didn't leave room for interpretation. No codes. No aliases. No plausible deniability. Just faces, movement, drugs, timestamp. Undeniable. Inescapable. By the time this video surfaced, the Eastern Region Special Operations Unit (ERSOU) was already deep in the game. They had been watching, listening. They had intercepted a shipment, tracked burner phones, mapped van routes, and followed text patterns. But they didn't move. Not right away. They let it run. Because this wasn't about arresting one man, it was about dismantling the entire machine. The farm in Hunsdon, with its wide sheds and open gravel yard, had become the staging ground for Brooks's pipeline. Crates would arrive, get broken down, repackaged, distributed. And each time the police added another thread to their case. Then came August 15th. Another shipment. Another drop. ERSOU had seen enough. That day they executed a hard stop on Stephen Kapp. He was driving a van like he always did, quiet, controlled, nothing to flag him. But inside the vehicle? 5 kilograms of cocaine, expertly packed, with a street value deep into 6 figures. Kapp didn't resist. He barely blinked. He knew it was over. And from there the collapse began, not with sirens but with silence. Raids followed, across Hertfordshire, Merseyside and beyond. Hard drives, encrypted phones, bank logs, flight bookings, burner sims, contact sheets. Everything was catalogued, cross-referenced, and pulled into digital forensics. Each file was a confession. For years, Brooks had been careful. He didn't talk on the phone. He used encrypted devices. He drove a car with learner stickers to look innocent. But he hadn't planned for a dash cam. He hadn't accounted for that one accidental witness, a silent lens that caught everything. The irony? He wasn't even the one being watched. Not at first. But in the world of organized crime, you don't always fall because someone talks. Sometimes you fall because a parked car doesn't blink. And when the footage hit the ERSOU evidence room, the case transformed. What was once circumstantial became concrete. What was once suspicion became evidence. The illusion Brooks built, so sophisticated, so seamless, started to crack at the seams. Every box had a barcode. Every courier left a trace. Every burner phone pinged a tower. The digital trail they tried to hide became the rope that wrapped around them. And the dash cam? It didn't just record a drug drop. It recorded the moment everything changed. There were no shootouts, no blazing arrests, no high-speed escapes through backstreets and alleyways. In the end, it all came down to a quiet courtroom and a judge with a long memory. September 2020. St. Albans Crown Court. The men who built a £58 million drug empire didn't speak much. Their lawyers did. Their records did. And the weight of their own logistics, the texts, the van trackers, the dashcam footage, spoke louder than any plea. Robert Brooks, the man known as Jaguar Palace, was sentenced to 21 years in prison. No emotion, just a slight nod, as if he'd always known this day would come. Richard Campbell, who managed goods and coordinated pickups, received 13.5 years. He didn't look at Brooks on the way out. Stephen Kapp, the courier caught with 5 kilograms of cocaine in his van, got 9.5 years. The footage of him offloading crates, still playing on a monitor in the courtroom, sealed his fate. Thomas Vosenjak, the runner who helped unpack and stash the drugs, was given 6 years and 3 months. A small part in a large machine. But in this game, small parts still cost time. And then, Peter Manison, the supplier behind the shipments in the Netherlands. 6 years behind bars for delivering at least 70 kilograms of cocaine into the UK market. An offshore player, but the justice system reached across borders to close the loop. But the story didn't end with prison sentences. It continued with confiscation orders, the state clawing back the spoils of empire. Luxury watches, vehicles, high-value properties, hidden accounts. Every asset Brooks and his team touched became part of the forensic sweep. The numbers were brutal. Robert Brooks was ordered to pay back nearly £1.2 million in criminal profits. If he failed, more prison time would follow. Others faced similar demands, their once flashy lifestyles reduced to auction goods and bank freezes. There's a bitter irony here. This empire wasn't run on violence. It was run on tech. Encrypted phones, burner sims, digital tracking, data-driven logistics. The same tools that built the business ultimately destroyed it. The same dashcam that was meant to prevent petty theft ended up dismantling an entire pipeline. It recorded just a few minutes of footage. But that footage became a death certificate. And still, even after the headlines faded, the story lingered. Because this wasn't a cartel from South America. This wasn't a movie script. This was a man in his 40s with a learner plate on his car, who built a drug empire from a quiet home in Hoddesdon. It played into a fantasy. The ordinary guy as criminal mastermind. The idea that behind every delivery van could be a hidden kingdom. The notion that anyone could build an empire if they were just careful enough. But the cost? That part is less cinematic. £58 million worth of drugs. Thousands of lives affected. Addiction in every major UK city. Families broken. Communities torn apart from the inside. The public fascination didn't fade. Newspapers dubbed him the quiet kingpin. Others called him the British Walter White. But when the trial ended and the doors of the courtroom slammed shut, it wasn't mythology that remained. It was time. And silence. Brooks once believed invisibility would save him. No tattoos. No luxury cars. No loud presence on social media. But in the end, it wasn't visibility that brought him down. It was one blink, one camera, one moment, and the illusion of safety vanished. Criminal empires don't always collapse in flames. Sometimes they fall in the quiet corners of England, under the eye of an unsuspecting lens. This was the rise and fall of Jaguar Palace. A man who believed he could outsmart the system only to be buried by the very tech he used to build it. If you found this story gripping, subscribe for more deep dive crime documentaries. Real cases, real consequences, and always, the truth behind the silence. Turn on notifications, because the next empire could be hiding on your street.